से मुझे गिराने पे हासिद तूने.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to another edition of News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Marsberg 105.6 FM, and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba bikum. My name is Yunus Sekur and I will be in your company for the next 2 hours approximately. I will be interviewing our guest shortly. Our apologies for a late start because we had Mufti A.K. Hussain, who's had a live program from one of the masjids in KZN. Today, the date is the 12th of February 2025 and the 14th of Shaban 1446 AH. We have approximately 16 days to the Mubarak month of Ramadan. So the month of Shaban is a preparation for the month of Ramadan, and Alhamdulillah, Shab Barat will take place tomorrow. So many people have started to fast today, tomorrow, and indeed on Friday. On tonight's show, the topic is basically a continuation of our series of discussions around the GNU functioning and the drastic decline in service delivery in the different municipalities. We probably do an analysis of SONA, the State of the Nation address by our president that took place last week. And we are going to look at some of the issues relating to the Mkonde Sizwe party, whereby they opened up charges against Afri Forum with treason on certain issues. With me on the show this evening, I've got Ish Pralad. He's the chairman of the Reservoir Hill Ratepayers and Residents Association and the chairman of the Tekwani Ratepayers and Residents Association, ERRA. Now, also later on in the program, we'll have the Honorable MP Fiswin Reddy. He's a member of the MK party, and he'll chat to us on some of the breaking news on MK. They're very strong in KZN, and he will chat to us about, exactly why charges against Afri Forum with treason, because we know President Donald Trump from the United States has made some announcement which affects funding to South Africa. And then later on in the show, we'll have Hassan Mutala, our economist and asset manager, who will chat to us about the financial impact of SONA. The show is interactive, and we welcome your comments, which can be sent to us on the studio WhatsApp number 06090411056. Now, just to introduce our guests for this evening, we've been having guests from many, many ratepayer associations, and we'll have many more leading up to elections, because we need to chat with the civic organizations and ratepayer associations to find out how they're going to organize themselves to improve service delivery in the different wards, and at the same time, what is their vision for an ideal service delivery program in the different areas. Now, Ish Pralad is a well-known civic activist. He's the chairman of the Reservoir Ratepayers and Residents Association and chairman of ERRA. A father and a visionary. Ish's goal is to unite the Tekwani Ratepayer associations under a single banner with the formation of the association. So he indicated that the organization has challenged the Tekwani municipality on service delivery and continues to do so in the best interest of residents. We've seen him successfully in engaging the heads to improve service delivery in the different wards he represents. He's been working with organizations like We Feed SA. Ish has taken steps to help clean Reservoir Hills, and his encouragement for others to follow his footsteps has proven that a small step behind a good leader produces positive results. Now, Ish goes the extra mile as he reaches out to people in times of need by handing out blankets or arranging food for those who have lost their homes in fires or become flood victims. And he's a strong family-orientated man who walks the talk and talks the talk. Now, you'll see Ish often engaging those that stand in the side of the streets, robos, often trying to dig deep and understand their conditions, and with a view to providing help to them in bettering their lives. He's known to know the poor, and he's often seen handing out hampers to the needy, a man who needs no introduction. Ish is also a businessman. He owns a security company.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored to be here.
Okay, thank you for accepting our invitation. I know many a time we invited you and you had other urgent commitments, and I know tomorrow you also have some commitments quite early in the morning, but you indicated that you'd like to join me in tonight's program because we've got a lot of listeners, and what affects them is their lives, in the areas in which they live. Now, a lot of the ratepayers are paying rates. Residents are indirectly paying rates if they're tenants.
Correct.
So the whole issue of service delivery, it affects everybody living in the different areas around South Africa.
Correct, yeah.
But we sharp focusing in the areas close to us because we in the eThekwini region. Now, we know Pietermaritzburg is also listening to us, so they're concerned about the functioning of Msunduzi municipality. In Stanger, the KwaDukuza municipality is also a problem. There's various other municipalities in the South Coast. So within KZN, generally, service delivery there's a drastic decline. And we unpacked the reasons for the last couple of months in my show. And common reasons, are prevailing in each municipality.
Correct.
Some of the reasons coming through is that there's inexperienced officials working in the municipality, there's fraud and corruption and maladministration, and the Auditor General has qualified a lot of audit reports in the various municipalities. So, Ish, from your perspective, having been involved in civic activism for the last 40 years and coming from a big area like Reservoir Hills with a lot of informal settlements, perhaps you just want to give us a brief overview of some of your observations on service delivery in and around the ward that you are living.
Okay. If you take Reservoir Hills and Clare Estate itself, our service delivery is not up to mark. We are getting some service deliveries. Things are getting done, and but not in a time factor as what we want it as. It's if you look at the informal sector, it is so bad that houses in Reservoir Hills have dropped in values by maybe 50-60%. And it's sad because the ratepayer and the residents have put their lives into these homes. And I mean, even me as a ratepayer as well, we put our lives into these homes. We've spent so much of money in there, and it's worth 50% of its value now. But the municipality has come and done an overview of the house and giving us values that are more than the resale value. And they're knocking us on the rates. So there is no justice in the system.
Now, I know with the valuation that takes place, there's an opportunity to object to the valuation.
Correct.
So I'm sure most of the residents objected and say that your value must be based on a willing buyer, willing seller concept.
That's exactly what is being done. But you know that our billing system at the moment is in shambles. So although we're fighting this, we're not getting the right values. Even our billing system of our lights and water is ridiculous. Now this thing of AOD, making our poor people sign acknowledgement of debt. Come on, really? We're living in a place like we're living in jail. We're not living. Basically, we're living in jail. Our debts are so high. Pensioners are earning 2,000 rand.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting rates and a water bill for 4,000, 5,000. They come to me. They come crying. And fortunately, that we have people in the municipality that help us, okay, and get these things done for the pensioners. But it's still not right. Never mind being a pensioner or being a businessman or whatever. The billing system needs to change. This AOD system needs to change. They cannot blackmail the residents anymore. It's time now our people take action. If they do not take action, sit in the homes and go and sign those AODs and just sit and watch what's going on. That's wrong. You need to follow the leader. If you go out there, you make sure when we are out there with our placards, people need to join us. And our water situation is so bad in the northern area, didn't have water for 30 days. Phoenix, Chatsworth, all are suffering. We are going to take this full now. We are tired now. Now we have had it. Because every time we send an email, it comes back and it says, don't worry, this head of department will be contacting you and will be sorting out. Come on, sorting what out? You're already doing curtailment of water. There's been no water, but you're doing curtailment of water. So really, I think it's time now. We need to get off our seat and go there and take action. If you do not take action, you're wasting your time. You will be sitting and paying, and you lose your homes, and a lot of people will lose their lives because they can't pay.
Now, I've done many programs in my show going back before the provincial and national elections, the previous municipal elections. For the last about 7 to 8 years, there's been a decline, but in recent years, it's been a drastic decline. And those guests that are interviewed from the ratepayer associations, councillors from the different parties, they commonly have indicated that, the maladministration, corruption is a major problem, but inexperienced and incompetent staff in the different municipalities is a major problem, and incompetent councillors as well. And they began to point out that that's where your problem starts. These councillors get appointed in the elections and they mobilize themselves and promise the world. But once they're elected, then they're totally ineffective.
Correct.
So what's your plan of action as, I know as a ratepayer association, you cross-cut through 2 or 3 wards, but you're also working with other ratepayers crossing across other wards.
Yeah.
So what is your brief plan of action, because you got some time now before the next election to mobilize and put the right leaders who can go there and represent the people and work out strategies to deal with service delivery backlogs, but also improve service delivery.
Well, correct. That's why I said on the onset that our people need to wake up. They need to come out there and put the individual who is capable of being our counselor. It's no use having a counselor that would just sit and do nothing. It's a simple question. We picked the counselor. In the old days, we had the suburbs, where the suburbs had their own running their own town, right? And now we have counselors that come from God knows where. They get the votes. They buy the votes. They get the votes. As soon as they become counselors, they're sitting back and relaxing, and people are suffering. Our people need to wake up. They need to smell the coffee. They need to come out there and say, we want that individual to service us. And we will go for that individual to service us. That's how we need to do it.
Now, the area that you're covering is a big area.
Very big, very big.
I know you mentioned, the type of houses are there, and that was one of the elite areas, where the Indian community used to live. I know we now, mixed.
Yeah.
But ultimately, because of the emergence of informal settlements, the decline in service delivery, with the potholes in the roads, the verges not being cut, water, outages,
Correct.
electricity outages, the area is beginning to decline drastically. And that's cause for concern, because whereas your house could have been worth, say, 3 million in the past, is sitting at 1.5 million.
Actually,
so effectively, you're losing in value.
Yeah, low. It's very low. If you enter into Reservoir Hills, if you drive into Reservoir Hills, all you see is informal settlement. And if you got a buyer that's coming to buy your house, as soon as he drives in, he does a reverse turn and he's gone.
Particularly in the Varsity Drive area, etc.
Varsity Drive is bad. I mean, if you look at the Quarry informal settlement, it's they have got double stories and triple stories. What is municipality doing about this? You're driving in here, you see a guy sitting on no engineers. There's no engineers there. It's a 3-story shack. So what is the municipality doing? They're sitting on their backs and doing nothing. That's what we need to stop.
Now, your sort of experiences over the many years you've been there, and I'm talking about now a drastic decline. In the past, there was some form of service delivery.
Correct.
But now you may say, in a scale of 100, it used to be 70 or 80%. It dropped to 15 5 years ago, but now it's dropped to about 20%. So how would you, sort of indicate your service delivery percentage as a percentage of 100%?
Okay, if I say, I say it'd be about 30%. Okay, service delivery. But on water, there's no service delivery.
In Reservoir Hills?
Not Reservoir Hills we have.
You mean in our northern areas?
Reservoir Hills we find with water. But
Because you all have a big reservoir in the top.
no, actually, that's not our reservoir as well.
Is it? That is being supplying water to other
Other
areas.
areas, we get it from another reservoir. That's why we have water.
Right.
If that reservoir was supplying us, we wouldn't have ever had water.
Because that reservoir is compromised.
It's compromised. But the thing is, I mean, it's a shame where you look at the northern areas. It is so bad that how can an elderly person go to a tanker, really? And they didn't have water for 29 days.
Which area is this?
That's Queensborough, Moseley, Savannah Park, Montfort, Crossmore, all those areas had no water for 29 days.
So the ratepayer associations and civic structures and councils in those areas are ineffective? Or
no, the problem is every time you talk about water, you talk about dam levels. You talk about this level. You talk about that level. Then you talk about curtailment of water. You're curtailing what when there's no water? What are you curtailing? So nobody seems to be listening. So the only way for us to make them listen is to go to them now. But remember, we had a couple of protests.
Let's talk about those protests, because I see it in the media.
Well, a lot of protests.
You all were protesting in front.
Yeah.
You all gave a memorandum to the speaker, who accepted the memorandum, who assured that the mayor will respond. What was the outcome?
Okay, that was when Mayor Kaunda was there. Okay, but you can forget any response from that, right? Fortunately, we had some good response from the new mayor. I'm not going to say
Cyril
anything,
Kaba.
Yeah, we had some good response. He did promise us stuff, which he did. Okay, but
Which he delivered.
He delivered some of the stuff he delivered. But if you look at
and what were the deliverables you all were raising with him? The common deliverables.
the common, like water, electricity, and try and formalize the informal settlement. Well, once you formalize the informal settlements, the values of our houses will go up as well, right? And but that doesn't seem to be happening on formalizing the informal. If you drive into to the crematorium, you must know you're taking your loved one to a crematorium, and you're going through dirt, water, sewer, and you know what? It's sad.
You mean it's spilling on the road?
Yeah, New Germany Road is so bad that when you're driving through that, sometimes people from other areas fear to go drive through that road. It's so bad because they're building right onto the road. There's triple-story buildings.
And there's stormwater blockages, sewer blockages, and the water is overflowing on the road.
Yeah, no, so far at the moment, it's been cleaned. Right? So far, we haven't been having much issues with water and sewer. But the main thing is the cleanliness of that road. It is really sore that when the people are taking their loved ones to get cremated, and you're going through such a dirty patch to get to the crematorium. That needs to be sorted out quite urgently.
I know there's many deliverables you're talking about, sewer blockages, stormwater blockages, water outages, electricity outages. Now, these informal settlements are either stealing electricity by illegally connecting to the light poles.
Correct.
And now the electricity department has now disconnected the light poles because they don't want electricity to be stolen. Now that makes the road dark.
Correct.
And then the crime element comes in. Now, as a practitioner on the sort of security side ish, how is the security situation in those areas?
Oh no, it's actually bad because if there's no light, you're going to have serious issues. And if you look at the like amparas, we call them, there is a vast amount in all areas. It's bad because there's no employment. Our employment is so bad that they have to steal. And what they're doing, they're stealing from the formal sector. And even they actually steal from the informal sector because some of them are living okay, they're working and they got stuff in their houses, and they're also getting involved in that.
Well, listen, my recollection of the area, there's a mall there in a corner.
Correct.
And next to the mall there's a whole lot of duplexes, and these are upmarket duplexes before Sirpat Road.
Correct.
And into Sirpat Road there's a whole lot of duplexes. So basically it's a security threat for all those residents and the mall, etc.
Yes, it is. But I tell you what, since we got into this WeFeed program, we cleaned all those areas off by the duplexes. If you drive in there by the mall, it's totally clean. But we don't go past that towards the crematorium because it's too bad. It's very bad. So, but if you look at the mall section, the area there, it's thanks to WeFeed that we managed to clean those areas. And the entrance of Reservoir Hills, we clean as well. Not the municipality. We do it. And if it wasn't for us and we feed SA, I tell you, Reservoir Hills would have been a bush, a real bush.
Now tell me, I mean, I know people are listening to us from Reservoir Hills.
Yeah.
During the floods a few years
Yes.
ago, the bridge where Varsity Drive is was washed away.
Yes.
And the side rails
Yes.
have been washed away. So there's a risk that if a taxi is speeding and there's an accident, it could go down.
Taxi
Some of them went down.
Taxi went
A
in
couple of them went down.
Ah.
But that road in that area is full of potholes and it's a major problem during rainy days.
Correct.
Now, has the city not considered trying to sort out those roads? Because it is a main route. Either
Main
you go
arterial road,
left
yes.
into the freeway or you go up that road into Amgudulu Drive. Or
course.
what road is that? The one?
Varsity Drive.
Varsity Drive.
To Amgudulu.
To Amgudulu. So, which means that people are risky or find themselves, at some security risk to drive past there in the evenings?
I had a meeting with our councillor, and we are hopeful that during the beginning of this year we can get that bridge sorted out, the road sorted out, and get all those blocks in, so a proper bus stop put in the entrance. Because remember, it's the entrance of Reservoir Hill.
Correct.
And it looks so bad. If
You think you're in an informal
even
settlement?
informal, if we don't clean that section ourselves, it'll be bush. So all we're saying is that section needs to be fixed as urgently as possible. But it's gone. When was the floods? Gone. 4 years ago.
Yes.
And we still haven't fixed that part of the road.
And not only the bridge there, is also the roads have been badly damaged.
If you drive into Quarry Road next to the informal, the potholes you have to duck and dive
Yes.
to drive into the, and then you got children playing all over the road,
Yes.
and it's so high risk for them to get killed. And
now,
then,
further down Varsity Drive, when you're getting into the lower end of Clare Estate, I believe that area is a high-risk area and a security compromised area because
Yes.
there's been a lot of hijackings, hold-ups and killings in that area, the lower part of Clare Road.
the lower
Was it
part,
called Hippomia?
Hippomia. Yeah, it's actually very bad over there because it's
And a lot of Indian families are living there, isn't
yeah,
it? So?
there's a lot.
And they're living in fear.
in fear because, but remember, also they have a lot of outages there because when it's a rainy weather, when it's like cold, obviously the informers are going to pull more power. When they pull more power, they blow.
Right.
So now you must know
and where they're pulling power from? The lights? From the street lights?
They're pulling from street lights. They're pulling from everywhere. They're going under the river. They're pulling power. Right. So that's why I said the municipality has failed us. They've actually failed us. They have not. If they formalized the informal settlement, and we would be better off, because you must remember that they say province is paying for the power for the informal, which I think is nonsense, because the amount of money we pay for power is compromising our pocket to pay for the informal.
So the ratepayers are contributing towards...
Ratepayers are contributing money. We are the client, and municipality is stealing from the client. So all we're saying is they need to wake up. They need to have proper control over the informal.
Now, I recall, when I was in the municipality many, many years ago in the Human Settlements Department, they had a plan for the large number of informal settlements throughout the city. At that stage, there were more than 200 informal settlements, and a large number of families
That's
were
1,000.
living. Now, the head of that section indicated that they're looking at, providing services for the informal settlements in the form of electricity and water, communal electricity and water supply. And then probably metering and giving them the prepaid metering system so that they get the free basic electricity and water, and thereafter they need more to pay.
Correct.
Now, when you go past these informal settlements, you see all of them got DSTV and they well lit.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure whether that is all part of the theft of electricity process.
It definitely is. It's part. You must remember the guy's he's got GST, he's got everything. He's not going to take money out of his pocket to pay and put tokens. He'll bypass all that. It's happening. It's happening all over, and the municipality knows that. And the problem is our community leaders in the informal need to get together with the ratepayers. If they get themselves involved in the ratepayers, we can get better living for their people as well, because they also want to have a decent living. They also want to have lights and water. They want to live in shacks all their lives. right? So that's what I'm saying is we all need to get together. The informal are residents as well. So if they become part of the ratepayers associations, they can also fight for what they require.
Now, tell me, in terms of the municipality's response, the officials coming, and in a lot of these areas, the councillor has what we call a war room. Now, the war room is where they call up meetings to deal with the challenges that the people are facing.
Mhm.
Do you all have a war room in that ward or that area?
Yes.
And do you all attend the meetings to highlight to the councillor that these are our challenges that we're hearing today?
Okay. Reservoir Hills has a war room. I'm the deputy chair of the war room. We're having a meeting on the 13th. That's on Thursday. Last year, we had the heads coming in, but this year we're going to actually push. We got a quite a decent working war room.
Now, the heads that come in, do they give you time frames when they're going to improve delivery? For example, now you said the bridge, there's some efforts taking place, because how the municipality works is they have what we call a budget for each area,
Correct.
each ward. And the councillors then work out what are the priorities for that particular area. And based on that, there is a spend with time frames.
Correct.
So when these head of departments come into the board to the war rooms, do you all prioritize your service deliverables in for the different areas in Reservoir Hills?
Yeah, we do. We got a problem on that road we talk about where the bridge is. Half the bridge is Ward 23, half the bridge is Ward 25. So if you turn in, it's on Ward 25. If you're coming out, it's on Ward 23.
So Ward 23 covers Spencer Road and Clare Road.
Yeah, Ward 23, you see, Ward 25 will come that way, to left-hand side of Quarry Road.
Right.
And then Ward 25 is right-hand side of Quarry Road, going up Spencer Road, up to Morwood Road.
Right.
And then Varsity Drive is Ward 23. So the biggest challenge is now, who's going to do the bridge? Whether it's going to be Ward 23 or Ward 25, because it's half and half. Right? And you must also remember, people must remember that councillors have a surplus in their district of about 3 million, where they can prioritize things which can be done, the smaller stuff that can be done in the ward. So our people need to come for these meetings, look what the budget is like, and listen to what needs to be done. Because if a councillor has 3 million in his kitty, he can do that councillor can do small stuff in the ward. You don't have to go look for budget. The person has the budget. If it's a 500,000 rand job, the councillor can do that. It's a 250,000 rand job, the councillor can do that.
So you're all working with the municipality in terms of prioritizing your spend.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. What we're going to do is we we have the 9 o'clock news. We'll have a short break, and we'll continue with discussion after the news break. Okay.
To meet you, pay us a visit. Radio Al-Ansar.
An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al-Ansar News.
Making news this hour, the 12th of February, the news from Durban 90.4 FM, Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM. KwaDukuza locals demand independent probe into missing funds, America Monina. Ratepayers in KwaDukuza have called for an independent probe after the municipality revealed that more than 30 million rands had disappeared from its bank accounts. Officials say its primary account was breached, resulting in unauthorized withdrawals. The Dolphin Coast Residents and Ratepayers Association is demanding answers. Chairperson Dion Felion says they want an external entity to conduct a forensic investigation. He says all investigative reports should be made public. Meanwhile, the municipality says it is carrying out its own investigation. The Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs MEC, Thulasizwe Buthelezi, has requested a full report into the missing funds. More news. Reactions to the SONA State of the Nation address delivered by President Ramaphosa last week continues today in Parliament. Ompile Mohatwe, the EFF member of Parliament, bemoans the economic situation as the party deems it today.
Plan to create 275,000 jobs a year in 2019. We knew then that young people, the unemployed, the dejected masses of our people were doomed forever. How can you aim to create 275 jobs a year when more than 12 million people are unemployed today? It would take 25 years to reduce unemployment to 5 million and a further 43 years to eradicate unemployment completely. You won't be here president in the next 25 years, let alone 43 years, because nature would have resolved our problems. As we speak, there are no jobs. There is no plan to create jobs. There is no link between the government budget and job creation. There's no link between South African Reserve Bank monetary policy and job creation. Your government does not want to create jobs for our people. It just refuses to create jobs for our people. In 2018, 83 municipalities received a qualified audit. Today, 85 municipalities have failed to meet financial accountability standards.
More News 9, Iman Gunam was kidnapped outside a school last week in East London. Local media says, however, the 9-year-old has now been found. A video showed on social media allegedly showing her begging her parents to pay a ransom. It is still unclear how she was released. However, school authority and community members are elated. They had this to say.
The morning when they come to school, they were crying. We as the teacher, we didn't know what to do. We gave a shout to the local pastors and they came to give us prayers and they comforted us. That's what got us going. The prayers, this community that has been behind us from the very word go.
Everyone has been hooting, going crazy. It feels like Mandela was released, which is so profound. Our community is ecstatic. We are joyful, we are happy.
As a community, we are elated, we are ecstatic. You know, the incident around this little girl has risen up our community in unity. Restoration is the word for our community from here on out. And we thank every religious leader, the school teachers, the community members, even those who prayed in silence. We say thank you for that. The next step is going to be restoration in terms of getting things on track and keeping it there. As far as any information about Iman, at this point, all I know is that the father shared with us early this morning in all our different WhatsApp groups that she's home safe.
Finally, international story. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, is reportedly to hold an emergency meeting of its foreign ministers in response to an Iranian diplomatic initiative to address the U.S. plans for forced displacement of Palestinians from Gaza. Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, said he had engaged in an extensive diplomatic outreach over the recent days, holding discussions with his counterparts from Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Algeria, Turkey, Pakistan, Malaysia, Gambia, which currently holds the OIC's rotating presidency. In an official letter to the OIC's Secretary General Hissène Brahim Taha, the top diplomat said he had outlined the urgency of convening the meeting to discuss and counter colonial efforts to forcibly relocate the people of Palestine. Financial indicators ran to the dollar 18 rands 54, the euro 19 rands 15 cents, and the British pound is 22 rands 97. Your weather now 30 degrees. A quick reminder of our top story. Ratepayers in KwaDukuza have called for an independent probe after the municipality revealed that more than 30 million rands had disappeared from its bank accounts. That's the news.
Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031-306-4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickfield Road, Overport. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
In South Africa, countless numbers of sick patients leave their homes at the crack of dawn to join long queues at clinics and public hospitals, many of them suffering pangs of hunger in addition to the symptoms of disease. The Al Imdad Foundation's Slice for Life teams deliver sandwiches to these patients at more than 40 hospitals and clinics across the country. Help us to keep on relieving hunger. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Relax, relieve, repair. Say goodbye to tired joints and muscles with Arnica Blue Magnesium Spray. Now available in 3 options: soothing heat spray, refreshing cooling gel, and rejuvenating massage oil, all enriched with Arnica and added magnesium for powerful relief. Find your comfort today at your local pharmacy or shop online at www.czmarketing.co.za. Arnica Blue, your partner in recovery.
Looking for top quality tools and hardware at unbeatable prices? WhatsApp us at 081 450 6082 or shop online at hyperhardware.co.za. For fast, reliable service, we deliver nationwide.
The views and opinions expressed by the guest and presenters of Radio Al Ansar are not necessarily the views and opinions of Radio Al Ansar and the Al Ansar Foundation.
This segment is brought to you by Kenfield Auto, your RMI approved service and repair specialist. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Kenfield Auto.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب.
Car won't start?
Kenfield Auto.
Noisy brakes?
Kenfield Auto.
Due for a service?
Kenfield Auto. Kenfield Auto, the answer to all your car problems. Your service and repair specialist for your VW, Audi, Suzuki, Toyota, or just about any vehicle. Kenfield Auto, your RMI and insurance approved workshop to handle them all. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Call us on 031 207 2399. Kenfield Auto.
Yellow Ansar Helping Hands with Aisha Jamal brings you the Animal Welfare Campaign. Help us make a difference.
Hey little bird.
Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, verily, there is heavenly reward for every act of kindness done to a living animal. We are in need of cat food, dog food, blankets, shelter, weatherproof kennels, and funds towards the above, as well as towards urgent cases where animals require medical attention. WhatsApp 060-971-9955 or 084-3041-683. Drop-off zone 207 West Road, Overport. Yadul Ansar, making a difference.
Join me, Nishal Sarwan, and the Breakfast Rush team this Ramadan as we gear up to distribute 1,000 degs of hot meals this Ramadan and Eid, because no one should go hungry. Sponsor a deg for just 1,850 Rand, Lilla only. Call Outreach now on 031 208 1601.
Radio Al Ansar, 24/7, 365.
وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. And we have not sent you, O Muhammad, except as a mercy to the world. फलक के नजारों ज़मीं की बहारों सभी दे मनाओ हुजूर आ गए हैं उठो बेसहारों चलो गम के मारो खबर ये सुनाओ हुजूर आ गए हैं 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 अनोखा निराला पोजीशन आया वो सारे रसूलों सुल्तान आया सुल्तान आया अरे बादशाह हो अरे तेज बुलाओ निगाहें झुकाओ हुजूर आ गए 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 हुजूर आ गए
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Masberg 105.6 FM, and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Before the news break, we were chatting with our civic activist Ish Prahlad. He's the chairman of Reservoir Hills Ratepayers and Residents Association and chairman of the eThekwini Ratepayers Association. And he's given us various information relating to service delivery in Reservoir Hills. We'll chat with him later. But live on air from Cape Town, I've got our Honorable MP, Viswan Reddy. He was a former councillor of ADEC, and he's been regularly on my show back in the day. First, good evening and welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International.
Good evening. What a pleasure it is to join your team again. And good evening to your listeners as well as your panelists. It's wonderful to be online. We have load shedding in the area, so the chances are that we'll lose a signal.
Okay. Are you in Cape Town, Vis, at the moment, in Parliament?
No. I'm at my house.
Okay. Now, Vis, I was chatting briefly with Ish Prahlad, and I think he knows you very well. And he was indicating to me that generally there's been a drastic decline in service delivery, particularly in the eThekwini region. And you and I chatted about this. And, we attributed this to various factors. Now, I know that, the party of which you're a, member of parliament, MK Mkondo Sizwe, you quite au fait with the situation, and you've raised a lot of awareness to all the ratepayers as well as the residents that something drastic has to be done in the different municipalities. So from MK's point of view, how do you view service delivery, and what is your plan of action to deal with this problem we have?
Unfortunately, the reality is that we need to have an helicopter view of the problem. We have politicians who are not really in touch with the realities on the ground, the lived realities faced by millions of South Africans. If you listen to the State of the Nation address and the debates that ensued in Parliament today and it will continue tomorrow, it is a fake picture of the reality on the ground. The president and parties that are aligned to the ANC, they want to make us believe that South Africa is a better place. But let's look at the reality. And I'm glad we're talking about eThekwini. The water infrastructure has completely collapsed. In fact, there is a water crisis at the moment. As we speak, people do not have water for days, weeks on end. And this is as a result of poor leadership. This is as a result of politicians who are there just to see and make deals to protect themselves and their own interests. The reality is that in the run-up to the election, parties like the DA convinced their voters that you vote for them, they will kick out the ANC because they blame the ANC for 30 years of failure, of a failed state. And yet the same DA is now in bed with the same ANC that they blamed for the catastrophe that's facing the majority of South Africans. So the president wants to believe that South Africa is a better place, that there is no water issues. Then if we look at unemployment, people that are listening in on the show right now, I can tell you now without a shadow of doubt that 4 out of 10 are without a job. And if you're a young person, a youth, it's 6 out of 10 that are without a job. The unemployment rate in South Africa is the highest in the world among young people. So what does this mean? What do we do? It means that as communities, we have to become more aggressive in our protestations, and we need to do what many of the civic organizations are trying to do. But sadly, these civic organizations are working on their own. You'll find that when it comes to meetings that they call, or they call for protest action, it's always the case where few activists actually participate. If you look at my own history, I have a history of activism where I campaigned against the high fuel prices. I campaigned against the fall of the eThekwini municipality and lack of service delivery and corruption within government. And the sad thing is that I didn't really get the support of the majority of citizens. It's easy for people to sit in their lounges in the comfort of their own homes and complain, but very few will actually go out and act. We need to take a cue from democracies around the world. Democracies like in America, in India, in countries like that, where people take to the streets and voice their dissatisfaction to such an extent that they force the government to give them a ear. Now, let me come back to eThekwini. eThekwini has the problem that's faced by the country. It is a microcosm of the political problem in the country because there's political instability. Worse, you have an ANC that is corrupt, an ANC that is divided with factions. And as a result of that, they never place the interests of the people first. Look at the debates in the council. The debates focus very little on the problems that's faced by our citizens. More about politics and less about the challenges faced by communities. So my advice to the listeners and to communities is to start joining civic organizations and to start becoming a force in the country where your voice becomes heard, where government does not take what you say very lightly. Why should civic organizations spend hundreds of thousands of rands to go to court, to get a court to make government officials see a reason? We've just heard, for example, that the water budget has now been depleted. That certain areas in eThekwini where their lifeline was a water tanker have now been cut off. So we know that water is a basic essential and necessity. Without water, you can't survive. And communities are actually doing without water at all. This is a grave injustice. It is an injustice against humanity. It is a human rights violation. And at the MK Party, we have been advocating this in Parliament. As you know, we are the official opposition, and we believe that an opportunity presents itself next year. If you look at the second biggest party is the DA, and the DA is a white party. Yet whites in this country make up only 7.5% of the population. 80% are black people. And when I speak of black people, I'm referring to black African, Indian, South African Indians, and the so-called colored community. So together, we have the power to take over government and to get our voices heard in the corridors of power. And we avoid going to elections. We have an attitude that elections will not change anything. Well, my message to you is that if you continue with that attitude, you'll continue experiencing the challenges and the problems that you're currently experiencing.
Oh, thanks, Vis. Just one more thing before we close off, Vis. I see that the MK Party has charged the AfriForum and deemed them reckless in terms of the treason. Police confirmed that, they are probing the treason case lodged by MK against the executive leadership of AfriForum over allegations that the organization had deliberately lobbied foreign powers to act against the sovereignty and economic interests of South Africa. Now, I believe that one of your party members, has cited this. He says the move comes after a number of actions taken by U.S. President Donald Trump against the country, including shutting down the United States Agency for International Aid. And, basically your representative, Dr. John Mshlope, addressed the media on this issue. Perhaps, I'm not sure whether you permitted to give us an update on the matter, Vis?
Absolutely. We take it as a final resort to actually go and charge AfriForum. Remember, AfriForum and other right-wing forces like the DA and other groupings, Freedom Front Plus and so on, they actually got Trump to intervene in a matter which they realized has now backfired. AfriForum, the DA, and others are now saying that they never expected Trump to react the way he did. And this is an issue that's ongoing. We believe we have a very strong case in the charges that we have preferred against the AfriForum. That is ongoing at the moment. And I can assure you that there will be an outcome. We're hoping that the police will act rationally and objectively in this matter, and that AfriForum must be brought to book.
Thank you, Vis, for joining us at short notice. I'd like to interview you live in the near future in terms of, how do we mobilize for leadership change? Because I know the party that you joined came out, guns blazing in the last election. So it's going to take us time to chat about how you achieved that. But I think you briefly mentioned that people must start mobilizing and use their vote and their power to get the municipalities to change and become part of a bigger scheme of things. But what's your closing comments?
My closing comments is the solution to the problems of our country lies not in the government, lies not in the president and all of these people. It lies in your hands. When you decide not to vote and when you go to boycott the elections, you actually go and put in incompetent people who actually go in there to fight against you. So use your vote, use the power of civic organizations, and start to mobilize communities. That's what we want to see. MK is a political party that advocates mobilization as a tool to get government to hear our concerns.
First, I see your party got specific uniforms, the opposite of the red beret guys or the red uniform guys, and a lot of them are skipping your way. On another day, we'll chat about that. But I like to take this opportunity.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to take wishing you everything of the best on your sort of term of office in Parliament, and we'll definitely interview you in the near future. Thank you very much, Viswant, for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, that was MP Viswant Reddy. He's with the MK party, and he gave us some very important information. Ish, I need to bring you back.
Okay.
There's been some WhatsApp messages coming through, and I know you deal with all kinds of problems, and the pensioners have been reading in the newspaper and in WhatsApp messages that as at the end of this month, they got to go and take their cards and exchange it. Otherwise, their old cards would be invalid. Can you give us an update on that matter?
Correct.
Ish?
There are quite a few ShopRite checkers that are changing the cards, and it's done very quickly.
All they're going to do is take the old card there,
and they'll get a new card
before the end of the month.
Before 28th of February, and it's done quick. I know Mount Edgecombe ShopRite is doing it very well, and they seem to be quite quick.
Most of the checkers branches are doing it.
They just got to find out which ShopRite checkers are doing it, and some of the other stores, I think some Boxer stores also are doing it. So you got to just look in the news or Google it and see which.
And all you do is you present your card. They punch your card in, and then they'll give you a replacement card.
Immediately a new card.
And then you can access your funding from there.
And it's done very quickly.
Okay, so pensioners, please note that you must go to the nearest branch of Checkers, but Google it to find out which branches.
Yes.
So you can give them your card, and they'll give you another card which will be valid to collect your SASSA grants. I want to welcome Mr. Hassan Motala. He's our economist and asset manager that always joins us. Hassan, I want you to give us a brief. I know Ish needs to leave shortly, and you also got another commitment, so we need to close up the program in the next 15 minutes.
Right.
We were listening to the SONA talk last week, and the president was talking about economic development. He was talking about tourism. He was talking about responding to unemployment, and Vis said 4 out of 10 are unemployed, 6 out of 10 youth are unemployed. So perhaps you just want to give us a quick analysis from a financial perspective on the president's response in SONA to the economic situation in South Africa.
Sure. I think obviously, the prelude to the SONA speech was the unfortunate statements by the new president of the United States, where he obviously attacked South Africa in terms of the land expropriation policy. A lot of it, obviously, incorrect statements, untrue in many aspects. And similarly, his special advisor also came out blazing and came out of these comments. And further to that, we had the Foreign Secretary, Mark Rubio, that said now that he won't be attending the G20. So President Ramaphosa obviously focused first on trying to allay affairs, but key thing he noted around that was to say that South Africa is a sovereign state. We have a constitution, we follow the rule of law, and we will abide by the rule of law. And our core principles are human rights and ensuring that we follow rule of law in whatever we do across the board. So that was he set the tone. The second key thing he focused on, economically speaking, was to drive economic growth. There has to be spending on infrastructure. Now, look, he has said previously talking about spending on infrastructure, and this time around he's trying to put in a more concerted effort where he's highlighted about 940 billion rands to be spent over the next 3 years. And key areas are going to be areas such as your power transmission infrastructure, water infrastructure. Water is one of the biggest issues we face over the next decade is going to be water. Remember, South Africa is still a water scarce country. So when we're getting fantastic rains, be it in KZN and the other areas, we need to make sure that that water is preserved and not lost. The unfortunate thing is today, whether it's eThekwini and even in Johannesburg and those places, 50% of the water is being lost through the system because of poor infrastructure. And that's the biggest issue. So I think there is a focus now to say we need to spend more focusing on certain parts, infrastructure being an important area, and water, electricity, and transport are the three key areas. I mean, the issue we were just talking about earlier, Randall's Road. What a nightmare to drive on Randall's Road. I mean, you're ducking and diving, you think you're going into effectively like gravel road, that's the way you're going to in many cases. It's a key aspect in many areas around the country. So I think that will be a focus. What President Ramaphosa needs to ensure is that there's follow through, there's accountability, and that there's proper spending and not corruption and the like. The other thing highlighted was the focus on Eskom and Transnet. Currently, Eskom, 95 billion rand is owed to Eskom by the municipalities. And that's the big issue. The big issue with Eskom is that they have a huge amount of debt that is crippling them, and they're trying to work themselves out of that. One key thing, though, about Eskom that we have seen some improvement in the last year, because you've had minimal load shedding over the last 300 days, Eskom's profitability on the operating profit side has actually improved. And with the result, they're starting to see an improvement in their operations. However, there's still a huge amount of debt, and debt is the big issue. Now, they're trying to get back and resolve some of the debt issues, be it to the municipalities and with some of the other corporates and whoever it is that may be owing. They need to recoup some of that money over the next few years. So that remains a challenge. But I think, importantly, we've seen a little bit of stability in terms of electricity, and that will help drive economy. The other key area is Transnet. Now, Transnet, we've slowly started to see some improvement, be it the ports and be it the rail. If we see more improvement on the ports and the rail, our exports of minerals such as platinum, gold, what you call gold, all these products will increase. And with the result, more foreign currency will come into the country and will benefit in terms of GDP growth. So that's another key area. And hopefully the intention is to see more improvement coming through in that. The last area that he touched on was to try and drive industrialization of Black-owned and small businesses over the next 5 years. So he's talking about spending 100 billion rands over 5 years, 20 billion rand per annum. Now, with that, always the risk comes is, will we see again tenderpreneurs coming in and raping that and sort of basically making a mess of it? We saw it during COVID time. That COVID, when we had the procurement programs, there was only a few companies and few individuals that basically raped the system, took a lot of that money, and there was not broad-based benefit that came out of that. Hopefully, there will be a lot more controls around that, and to see some broader-based benefit coming through amongst a major part of the communities in South Africa. Bearing in mind, next week, we got the Minister of Finance coming out with his budget. Again, another very, very important day, another important speech to be wary of. The Minister of Finance is also in a tight spot. Revenues are not growing rapidly. SARS is obviously getting in a lot, they're recouping as quite a bit, and they're actually one of the most efficient state enterprises currently operating, and they are recouping what they can do. However, our expenditure is high. And until you see economic growth picking up a lot more, we are going to still be a bit under pressure. So he's going to do a bit of a balancing act in terms of trying to manage our debt, which is at the moment at record highs. So our debt levels are very high. We have to manage that a lot more. I don't think there'll be any raises in income tax or even VAT. So I think that will be reasonably managed. However, I think we could see some improvements in terms of zero rated on the VAT. So I think because they understand that many low-income households are under pressure, especially with basic food and services. So I think they may increase the number of items that are zero rated, which will help a lot of households and individuals,
to buy the basic necessities.
To buy the basic necessities and cope during this difficult time. Yeah, I hope he does that, and let's see if he follows through as well. So I think it's going to be an interesting budget coming up. It's going to be a tough budget still. Hopefully, no, I doubt there's going to be any increases in income taxes because things are tough, and people. I mean,
the price of petrol is gone up again.
The price of petrol is going up. Cost is going up, and with the likes of Trump talking about these import tariffs and across the many countries, China, and he's now talking about also already steel and aluminium. South Africa will also be impacted of any exports to the US 25%. There's a risk that inflation starts to pick up again. And with the result of that, we need to be wary that the cost of goods and services, again, will start to maybe not in the short term, but 6-12 months down the line, again, we may be impacted by the cost of goods and services.
Tough economic conditions ahead.
Tough economic conditions.
Ish, I just want to bring you in. We need to wrap up.
Okay, all right.
There's a lady, Mariam from Reservoir Hills. She says, we are also experiencing theft of copper pipes and water meters at an alarming rate, and the municipality doesn't come to replace it for days on end. This affects all the homes on the road. As the water pressure gets affected, it's really frustrating. The government needs to put a ban on citizens dealing with the sale of copper. Then maybe that will put a stop to the theft. Correct. Because when they steal these copper pipes, I mean, the water gushes out and people are sitting with water accounts that are high.
That's true.
And also, it's a nightmare because they come at night and steal. And also they obviously steal other things and the pressure gets affected.
Well, in talking about the copper theft, I think what should be done is the government should stop scrapyards buying copper. If they stop buying copper, where are they going to sell it? Don't steal it. So copper is money for them. So if they stop, if they get all the scrapyards, you're not allowed to buy copper anymore, right? Theft will stop automatically.
But the backyard guys are still buying, and they're not giving anybody a chance.
No, and they're not getting that is true. And you must remember, I was just looking at water losses, right? The municipality lose approximately 615 million liters of water daily due to leaks and theft, costing nearly 5 million per day. So how that is affecting the ratepayer terribly. Our bills are unrealistic, really. So we put a proposition to the mayor saying that get the local plumbers. As soon as there is a water leak, you have 2 or 3 more local plumbers in your area, in your ward. You will phone them immediately to come and stop the leak. Once you stop the leak, water loss is stopped. We also save water, and we can stop all this curtailing.
One more quick question for you from Razia Khan. She says, Salam's an input to Mr. Ish. The councillor should get some relevant people and do something about the quarry road where we use the road all the time. It's terrible, dirty water on the road, splashing into our cars, kids playing on the road, cars parked on the road. Do something, because a lot of them come from Reservoir Hills. They take that shortcut as we were speaking, going up instead of going to the freeway.
Yeah, they go to quarry road.
And that road is a nightmare because your car gets messed up and it's highly risky because people are drying clothes there.
Yes.
Just before Spencer Road. Now, I know you spoke about it. Firstly, that bridge there.
Yeah, and then it's very bad. I mean, you can't drive past there because what they actually do is all the washing water, they throw it onto the road. and there's potholes there. So you're driving through, your car gets messed up. You can't keep your car clean, And we actually we cut that grass on the aisle. Otherwise, municipalities don't even bother. It's so bad.
Now, is it a security risk there as well? If your car gets stuck, you hit a pothole and you damage your car?
Yes, it is definitely a security risk because there's a tavern right there. They're drinking on the road.
So people don't want to travel there at night.
No, it's a risk.
In fact, the worst case scenario is they may take a right turn up Spencer Road in the hill if you can make it up the hill.
Up the hill, yeah. That's a safer spot. If you pass that, you get into a Flaherty Road. You must remember, if you pass that, you go into Quarry Road. A lot of formal sector is there as well. But that stretch is
very
bad.
dangerous. So at night, you should refrain from driving.
You should refrain from
now,
driving.
Ish, we're just referring to it in closing now because I know you got another commitment, same and Hassan as well. In closing, Viz already mentioned that, you cannot now just allow civic activists or civic organizations and ratepayer organizations to be static because he mentioned a lot of them are inactive.
Correct.
And they got to mobilize and create leadership that's going to stand for elections. So in the ratepayers that you're representing, how are you going to mobilize to get the right leadership to start, ensuring that people are available for elections so you get the right people that are standing for elections come 2026?
Yeah. Well, in actual fact, we got a lot of associations that are affiliated to ERRA, right? And we discuss issues. We discuss how we're going to go way forward. But the message is to the community that if you don't come out there and pick the right person, you are going to suffer the consequences. You need to be out there. You need to join your associations, your ratepayers. When there's a meeting, join them, work with them. And if there's a demonstration, join them. Like how the northern area, they got no water. They did demonstrations and water started coming. Why do you have to demonstrate to get water? I mean, the northern Mosley, Savannah, Queensborough are suffering. So there is going to be, we are going for a big demo now. We are tired now of the water restrictions.
Okay, thank you, Ish. I think you gave us some very, very important information. Hassan, you also gave us some important information. We're going to do an analysis of the budget next week. But what we'd like to conclude on is the fact that we have to be civic active. You've got to mobilize from now. You've got to join the ratepayer associations. You cannot be, lazy and not come for these meetings because it affects your lives in your areas. It can affect the values of your properties. It can affect service delivery big time. And with the ratepayer associations and civic associations becoming active and holding council accountable, one step further is the common notion we have is that wrong leadership is appointed. This mentioned that the overall black population in South Africa is 80%. So one, the ratepayer association need to mobilize. Number two, they need to join political parties that will make the difference in the municipality, get elected and make the difference. So start mobilizing from now. There's a lot of work required by the ratepayer associations and civic organizations, as we always speak, to ensure that you get people to register to vote, to identify the residents in those areas with the registered addresses so they can register to vote in those areas. And then you need to calculate your numbers in relation to the informal settlements in those areas, because I must stress that the black residents in these areas, they very, very technical savvy in ensuring, number one, they reside in the area, number two, they register to vote, and number three, they vote. So there's a lot of time to really work with the ratepayer associations from now so you can bring leadership change and eventually make your voice in council and work with civic activists throughout the area. On that note, that brings us to the end of News in Focus for this evening. Tomorrow is another fast on the month of Shaban. Some people will be fasting for 3 days, starting from today, tomorrow, and Friday. Others may just keep the fast tomorrow. So many people will go for an early night, inshallah, get up early morning and start their fasting and make lots of du'as. We have to make lots of du'as for the country because we resident in this country. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide our leaders, deal with all the calamities and difficulties we're facing, because this is a Mubarak month leading to the month of Ramadan at the end of the month. So it's a time to earnestly make lots of du'as for the ummah. We know that there's a bit of a stoppage of a ceasefire in Palestine, but we must make du'as that peace prevails in that area, and that Donald Trump does not activate the nonsense that he's been talking about of creating further problems in the area. On that note, until next Wednesday, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Africa Muslims Agency has been provided